ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Speak on it. And we are going to have a really great show for you guys. I'm the host. My name is Charles, and we have a really exciting event for you guys that we're going to be doing for all you crazy horror fans out there. We're going to be doing the Halloween, the saga of Michael Myers. So we are going to discuss each and every film from Halloween 78 all the way to Halloween Ends. And that movie will be released on the 14th of October. And this is going to be a really great celebratory film because this is the last time Jamie Lee Curtis will um, she's basically going to be bowing out as Laurie Strode. And, just to appreciate the fact that she's always come back to this franchise and always, gave it her all. And the element that she brought to the character of Laurie Strode. We really appreciate, Jamie Lee Curtis for always leveling up these stories and these films. And it's going to be pretty emotional, I think, the last one. But we're definitely going to get started with some great stuff and great discussions here. So we figure we start with the OG. We're going to start with the original Halloween of 1978. And before I even begin this this conversation, I have to kind of give uh, kind of introduce the panel here. And let's see, we got JJ, who is here from Speak On It. We also have my boy Eli.
What's up?
And we also have Jarrell. So welcome, guys. All right. So so the interesting thing about this film is first off, this was a small budget film. It only cost $300,000 to make.
Wow.
And John Carpenter, who was coming off of he was coming off of his
Assault
movie
13?
Assault of Precinct 13.
13.
Yeah, and it was fantastic film, and it kind of got the attention from a lot of people. They were looking to do a scary movie, and the story that they wanted to go with was the babysitter murders. And they decided to hire John Carpenter, and then John Carpenter brought Deborah Hill into the fold, and she was the co-writer of the story. And this movie is very interesting because I have to say, like, as far as this movie is concerned, it started a colossal franchise. I don't think they meant to do it as a franchise originally, but it ended up becoming something just, something so much more. And this released back in October, I think it's October 30th, 1978.
Wow.
And no one knew how mega this movie was going to be. Nobody really got paid for this film. All newcomers into into as far as this art, into this art form, all new actors and actresses. And it was a pretty interesting start with this movie. But I have to say that this movie really cemented a brand new, I would say,
Genre.
genre to the, as far as the horror genre. It kind of
hmm
created its own legs as far as the kind of I guess, sparked the uh, slasher genre, I should say. And really great stuff. I mean, really amazing. They took a lot from Hitchcock. They took a lot from some of
hmm
the old time films, where they were using lighting and, they was doing the whole pan glide type of, steady cam and stuff like
hmm
that. So they was doing some innovative stuff. Only 300,000. Actually, it was 320,000, but I'll tell you what the other 20,000 went to. I'll explain that later. But it ended up being $320,000 that they did spend. But first off, I just got to ask you guys, what did you guys think? What did you guys feel about this movie when you guys first saw it, and when did you guys see it? You know.
Anyone? I actually saw it pretty late. I'm not gonna lie to you. I
Hmm.
so I'm kind of like the rookie here out of the four of you guys. I'm sure three of you guys. I saw it probably part one. I probably
Hmm.
saw maybe the last 4 years. I saw the Rob Zombie ones that got me interested in seeing the original, and then I saw so I saw it pretty late.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of saw it back in like when I was, I don't know, I was maybe, I don't know, 10 or 11 or whatever. It came on television. Um,
Wow.
and, back when they were doing a lot of these movies on TV. And it was interesting. I remember being at my grandmother's house. We had just went trick or treating, me and my cousins and everything. And we came back home, and I tell you, man, watching that movie, man, it really kind of creeped me out. It kind of turned that whole safe neighborhood thing on its head. You know what I mean? Like you kind of equate Haddonfield as being this like really quiet town and someplace safe, and you have to, you worry about, trying to get a date and, going to homecoming and, trying to make the football team and cheerleading and all that stuff. So, and then you have this really dark story that's attached to this town that changes everything, you know? So it was pretty interesting, as far as the story is concerned. So what did you think about this, JJ? And when did you first see this movie?
Okay, I'm gonna try to speak as loud as I can. Is that okay?
Yeah,
The
you
mic.
can.
Same.
Okay. I think I saw it when I was like 7. It came on TV, Channel 5, I think, in New Jersey. I'm trying to wonder though, did it come out around the time when we were worried about razor blades and apples and cyanide and Tylenol? Because
Yeah,
that really added to the creepiness of the movie.
yeah. No, I definitely did. It definitely did. It was interesting because I remember, one of the things like when we used to go trick or treating, and when we used to get like bag full of candy, and we get back, and my mom would dump the candy on the table and
Hmm.
want to look through all the candy. I didn't know what she was doing at first, and I was like, I'm like, seriously, this is candy I got. It's like, it's,
Why are you stealing my house?
like, I didn't, I thought she thought I, took something or whatever, but no, she was checking to make sure that it was safe, that the candy was, and it was definitely around that time, Jay, when they were, putting like razor blades and all types of like needles and stuff like that in candy, which, I was like, what the heck?
So did that really happen, or was that just like you know, urban legend?
No, it did. A couple of there was a kid that unfortunately got his mouth split open. A
Oh.
kid from his kid from school. Yeah. So it was happening. It was sporadic. It wasn't happening as
Mm,
much, but it was happening enough. It was happening to a couple of kids.
wow.
That was enough.
You have to think what kind of a sick mind would do something like that, you know? It makes no sense.
Yeah. So it was definitely during that time. So, but what about you, Jarrell? What did you think of when did you first see Halloween, and what was the impact for you?
Jarrell just saw it yesterday.
You're muted, Jarrell. You're muted.
Um, hey, I believe Eli. We're in the same boat
Yeah.
because I saw Halloween 1978 not too long ago. It was years ago, probably around
Oh
2016 or
shit.
2017, maybe a little earlier than that. Maybe
Wow.
in the teens, 20 teens. And initially, I started watching the Rob Zombie Halloween films first
Oh wow.
because around 2007, I was in the time when um, I I just wanted to really explore film, all kinds of films, no matter what it was, and I said, let me check out Halloween because I really wanted to delve into the horror aspect of filmmaking, and Rob Zombie's Halloween was the recent Michael Myers film installments that came out at the time. So I saw that one, and I did like it. I did like it. Um, However, after that, I did read reviews on how people didn't appreciate. Well, I won't get into detail about that. We'll wait until we get to Rob Zombie's Halloween film. But
Okay,
I'll
yeah, we're
say
gonna talk about Rob Zombies.
Rob
Yeah.
Zombie was the first Halloween film that I saw, and then
Okay.
eventually I went back in time and saw uh, Halloween '78.
Mhm.
And boy, when I saw that, I was like, man, I see why this is a classic from John Carpenter. I mean, just amazing. And eventually, I saw his other films too. Like, I believe I saw The Thing before I got into.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and I saw Assault from Precinct 13 probably like maybe last year.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So every movie that I see from John Carpenter, I'm like, man, he just does a great job. But Halloween '78, out of all the slashers, I find Michael Myers to be the most calculating,
Hmm.
and I think in my opinion, maybe the smartest of all the
Hmm.
slashers. I mean, he is like just sneaky and very creepy. And um, if you put yourself into the situation of the victims and just being in that world of Haddonfield alone and sharing it with Michael Myers, it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. And
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly thought that John Carpenter did a great job with his craft and filmmaking for that film. It was like nothing like, I bet that during that time when it came out in theaters, it was nothing like they've ever seen. And I'm sure that people wanted to lock their doors in the suburbs or even in city, even in rural communities after seeing something like that. But I love that movie so much. That movie is great. That is like the perfect Halloween film.
By
Yeah.
the way, Jarrell, you are not properly spotlighting yourself on our Speak On It platform. You are in a contest to win for a horror contest.
That's right.
Please talk about that just for like a couple of seconds. That you want to win this contest.
That too, yes. I am participating in the Face of Horror contest, in which voters can pay for votes, and they'll be helping people with pediatric cancer. Uh, you're mainly helping families and children that are suffering from cancer. You can also vote for free if you would like. So vote to your heart's content. And the winner gets to meet Kane Harder. They get featured in a magazine, a 2-page spread. And of course, they'll probably be axed or get the machete from Kane Harder too, which is pretty bad.
Nice.
So I'm basically vote for me to get slayed by Jason. That's the greatest award I could ever get. And
Yeah.
you also get other perks too. You get to spend the night and I believe in the silence of where the Silence of the Lamb took place.
Oh, that's awesome.
What is the killer's name? Bill.
Yep.
Why is it not coming to
Buffalo
me now?
Bill.
Yeah, Buffalo Bill's house. That's right. You get to spend a couple of nights at Buffalo Bill's house. I'll definitely have the night light on if I do win, because that's going to be an experience. So I really look
No
forward
question.
to just having fun throughout this whole process. And once again, I appreciate helping people, whatever, if they have any illnesses, any ailments, or any type of struggle. I'm happy to help and support that. And in the
Awesome.
meantime, be a part of horror itself. And Jason, one of my favorite horror franchises. So thanks, JJ, for giving me a shout out for that. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. That's why we're called Speak On It.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, definitely. Support this man, bro. He's definitely he's a cosplayer, he's a writer, and his heart is always in the right
Good
place. So
guy.
definitely support this guy. Everyone. I'll put the link down below so you guys can, definitely follow him. All right. So so let's start from the beginning. All right. This is obviously the one thing with scary movies is always a backstory, right? So, the funny thing, I rewatched this movie just recently, to prepare for this, and the funny thing is that the first shot is, this camera walking, I guess a POV shot walking towards the house. Now, my question to you guys: so he's walking towards the house, he goes around the house, he goes to the back of the house, he goes through the kitchen, he gets the butcher knife, goes upstairs, he waits until the boyfriend leaves
Hmm.
and then goes upstairs, right? Stabs his sister. And I counted 8 times. Did you guys ever know how many times he killed this? Like how many stabs? I counted 8.
No,
Um,
I was distracted.
I counted 8. Oh, right. But
I was so distracted by the horror of him killing, his old sister. I was like, man,
Well, I
this is
think the
this
crazy
is
thing
a kid
about it
doing
was, did you guys think that it was a grown person or a kid? Like,
Yeah,
I
the
think the
Looked
beginning
like
of
a
the film.
reveal
grown
of it
person.
being a kid was the thing that bugged me out. I was like, wait a minute. Like,
Right.
when I first saw that scene, did I think it was an actual person?
You know,
Like the fact that it was a child, like it was a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah,
you know what, Charles? I wonder. You mentioned he stabbed 8 times. I wonder if that corresponds to Psycho in the shower scene. Maybe
well,
he
Maybe.
did like that.
Did how many times did Janet Leigh get stabbed in the shower?
Right, right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It could be. You know, but it was just interesting. The fact that it was to me it was like, wow, you got this kid, and then the funny thing is when he walks down the stairs and when he walks outside. First off, where's this kid coming from? He's 6 years old. I think that's the thing that kind of like to me, I was like, well, where's he actually coming from? He's walking towards the
you got
house,
bad parents.
That's for sure.
or was he, well, his sister was supposed to be watching him, right?
Right.
But she's with the boyfriend, but the funny thing is when when he goes there downstairs and the parents look at him like Michael, and they grab the mask off his face. I mean, it was just a shock to the screen, and then the way they pan it back was just brilliant. The way they pan back this whole scene, and it was like wow, because you kind of like sit with it like wow, this was a 6-year-old
Effed
kid,
up. Yeah.
Question:
Yeah.
where was he going? Because after he stabs his sister, doesn't he start running down the steps like the camera goes a little faster, and then he just goes into like a catatonic state? Like, where was he going to go?
Get candy.
We don't know.
I think they,
That's the thing. It's
yeah,
ambiguous. It's you don't know
yeah,
what Michael was thinking at that point. Like for him to wait and then stab because somebody told say okay, well, if it was my little brother, I would have just kicked him. But I think you don't think that your brother's gonna stab you. I think with the first stab, he stabbed in the stomach, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. With the first stab, so that shock right there, you know, obviously being stabbed, you're not expecting it, and then he just keeps stabbing. It was just, and the way they shot it was really, really interesting. I think it took them a day or two to shoot that scene, I
But yet
believe.
he didn't stab the boyfriend. He waited till the boyfriend left
Be-
because he
Yeah.
wouldn't have the strength, I guess, to kill a teenage male. So he
Well,
waited until the boyfriend left.
interesting enough, he maybe he intended to just kill the sister.
Mm.
Good point.
I'd say both answers make pretty much sense because right, he's a little kid and he doesn't, he's probably intimidated by a grown man probably trying that, trying to stop him from killing his sister. So he waited for him to leave, and he was so smart and calculating for thinking that way. And that's why I kept thinking like it felt like an adult rather than a kid doing it.
Hmm.
So, which made it even scarier because it's like you said, Charles, it's ambiguous in which you don't know the reasons why he went after his sister, when you first see the film. And uh, when he goes upstairs and, when he kills her, it's like you feel this sense of dread, you feel the sense of guilt because it's in first person's perspective. So it's kind of like you doing it and you're like, no, no, what are you doing? Why are you
Hmm.
doing this?
Hmm.
So I think that adds on to the terror and dread into, I guess, taking a trip into his mind. And probably it's uh it's probably testing us as people, of doing something like that. Like how would we feel, or how the person that's being victimized would feel. I also thought that it was very cunning of him to really start moving into the house once the lights went out
Mm.
upstairs. And then after that, he just like zipped right to an opening door and
Hmm.
just, creeped
Yeah.
right in there, and I'm like, man, this guy is like really calculating and smart.
Plus, he stabbed her multiple times, like Charles said, and that would be considered a crime of passion. It's not like he took a baseball bat and clubbed her over the head. He purposely took the knife and stabbed her multiple times. But yet, when he's outside and they take off the mask, he looks confused. His face looks like, "Who, me?"
Mm,
Hmm.
I'm hoping
yeah.
the audio is a little bit better right now.
Yes, it can hear a little better.
Oh,
You know,
Forgive me
Yeah.
you're not in
shouting
surround sound, but you're pretty good. Well, you know what? So we fast forward to present day, and obviously Loomis and Marion Chambers, who's the nurse, is driving up because he just made a case to the board about telling them, hey, listen, you need to keep this guy, locked up. Like this guy should never get out. He tried to make a case. They're trying to say, okay, well, no, you're a loon. They kind of think of him as a loon or whatever. But the escape, the fact that when he was able to escape the institution, and it's interesting because he he jumps on top of the car, he breaks the glass, and then he jumps inside the car and pulls off like he's Dukes of Hazzard, like
he knew how to
like
drive.
he's Bo and
me.
Luke.
I was like, didn't he get arrested as a kid? Like, how the hell did he learn how to drive? And did you guys see when he broke the glass? You could see like the wrench in the hand.
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah, because
Pretty cool. I
yeah,
love that.
they they tried to make sure that he really broke that glass that one. I guess that one shot, but it was
He needs a
interesting.
wrench to break the glass, but when he kills the one guy, he holds him up with one hand.
He's strong.
His
He's strong.
superhuman strength, ebbs and flows, I guess.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And then it's like, he's like, the evil is gone. The evil is gone, from here, And then we flash to Laurie Strode, our protagonist, you know. And what did you guys think, like, as far as, like, Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, and what did you guys think about, the way she carried herself in this film?
She was
Um,
she was okay in it. Other than her and the doctor, everybody else was pretty bad. The way they acted in that movie was kind of hard to watch.
I liked
He was
everybody.
great, and the guy who played the original what was his name from James Bond, the guy with the scar across his
Donald
face.
Pleasance, the great Donald
Yeah,
Pleasance.
there
Yep,
you go, Pleasance.
yep.
Hey Charles,
Those two were good.
I want to bring up a point when you said when Dr. Loomis says the evil is gone.
Hmm.
I think that Carpenter did a great job on that scene because Loomis goes off camera, but Carpenter still stays with the nurse for like 1 or 2 seconds just to show her fear, like that post traumatic stress on her
Hmm.
face. And
Yeah,
a lot of movies would be like, okay, that's not necessary, but those 1 or 2 seconds with her, you really feel that fear, and you can kind of place yourself in her
yeah.
predicament. Imagine if that happened, God forbid, to you, how you would feel,
Hmm.
and then the doctor just like goes stage left. It's like, don't leave me.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was one of those things where he didn't realize, until it happened and he drove off. He was like, "Oh my God." And I think he just had that split moment where he's like, "Okay, maybe I should go. Oh, wait a minute, let me go check on her," type of thing, and see if she's okay. But yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis. It was interesting because I think I don't know if they were going with a different person for that character, but I think one of the things that kind of helped her with the role was obviously her mother was in Psycho, Janet Leigh, and then also Tony Curtis is a dad. So can't forget about how popular her dad was.
Spartacus.
People forget Tony Curtis played the Boston Strangler back in
There you go.
about the Boston Strangler. So
There
kind
you
of like
go.
in DNA to do movies like this.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and this was her first like movie role, so she didn't get paid much, if not anything. But she did it because, she was like, all right, let me, this notoriety or whatever. Um, but I think she handled this character of Laurie Strode with vulnerability and care because it helped you to like really feel for the character. And I'm all about characters. I'm all about like people, like when it comes to story and character. Like I like to like I don't want the character to be harmed. You know what I mean? So with the way she approached it, the way she was caring, the way she like was always there for her friends and things like that, like it helped you to kind of like really, really care about her as a character. And I think that, even though Jamie Lee Curtis said that she was not really, she was kind of far from that character, she was pretty, a wild teenager, but she, you couldn't tell, she sold it. In my eyes, I thought she was like, oh, wow, Jamie Lee Curtis is a sweet, girl next door type girl, you know, couldn't get a date with Ben Tramer, but, 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 and then we have her friends, right? We have Annie, right, who is the sheriff's daughter,
Yeah,
right? The sheriff's daughter, it's a little
yeah,
sassy, right? And then you have Linda, right? Totally, right? She always say totally, and she was in Carrie, by the way. PJ Souls, she was in
She
That's
was.
Carrie.
great.
oh wow.
Yeah. So, but what did you guys think of the whole, you know, friendship dynamic between the three girls?
I'd say that it felt very organic and genuine. What I liked about Laurie Strode's character was that throughout the film, you see that she doesn't believe in a boogeyman. She doesn't believe the stuff that kids are saying. And when you're growing up, and you're in high school, you probably wouldn't think about that for kids either. Like, just sit down and watch the show while I make you, your lunch or something like that, or your dinner. But it's like it took her. I like how it develops later on that she realizes that this is the boogeyman that the kids been talking about all along because she wasn't seeing the things that the kids were seeing. So I thought that the development of Laurie Strode was really good, and as you said, she did handle that character with care throughout the entire franchise.
Hmm.
I think how she gets along with her friends and everything and how they communicate and chat is excellent. I thought the
Yeah,
dialogue and everything was
that's
superb.
Deborah Hill. That was
Yeah.
Deborah Hill. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
Congrats to her. My hat
yeah.
goes off to her.
She
And
wrote that.
I like the foreshadowing of Annie to Lori. That
Mm,
no, from I'd say from Lori to Annie,
mm,
when Annie is kind of like courageous because she is the daughter of a police officer. So she has that kind of
Um,
bold and courageous streak where she saw like some guy, behind the bushes. So she went to go see who it was. That's kind of like a reflection
mm-hmm.
of her father.
Father.
And I
Yeah,
like how Lori, and also I like how she
interesting.
said that she doesn't like people that drive fast, men that drive fast have like I think bad personality or something like that, or no personality. And I I also liked how Laurie said that one day you're going to get us all into big trouble, and I felt
Hmm.
that that was foreshadowing Michael Myers coming after all of them,
Hmm.
and because Annie was kind of like pushing it and having an attitude towards Michael Myers when it came to the driving, and yeah, so I'd say like I really like the dynamic between all of them,
Yeah.
and it all seemed like they were definitely friends, definitely sisters in this community, and they were all networking as babysitters,
Right.
so they
Right.
had
Which.
their own
Yeah.
you know thing going on.
That was an
Yeah,
oh shoot moment when that car stopped. When she said "speed kills" and the car stopped.
yeah,
I
Speak
was
Kills,
like,
yeah. That should be a commercial. That would be a great commercial for back then. Speed kills, and the car stops. Just let people know, follow the rules.
oh my gosh, yeah.
But that was something back then where people would get kidnapped. It wasn't talked about a lot, but strange cars in the neighborhood when you were a kid, you had to be careful.
Yeah.
And I
mhm.
Mhm.
think Halloween, if we go back to the beginning, like Michael kills his sister in '63, and like Jarrell says about foreshadowing, I wonder if that was also a play on the Kennedy assassination, because that happened like a month later, loss of innocence, 1963, and then we had all these other killings, Dr. King, Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X. So by making it like a month before all the assassinations happened, it's kind of like You know, he's saying this is what the '60s are going to bring, and then in the late '70s, I think is when we started having these serial killers that started getting like
Yep.
national press, Son of Sam and things like that.
Mhm.
So people were
Solomon.
on guard. You know, it was a very scary time around then.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, and to touch upon the boogeyman thing, right? The concept of, the boogeyman. And I think all of us, like I remember there was one of the things like there's always a place that's haunted, right? There's always a place that's in a town in our area that was like deemed like, danger zone. It was a haunted house, or was a place that you wouldn't go, or a person that you always kind of deemed they were into something dark, or demonic or whatever. And when they talk about the boogeyman, especially the conversation that her and Laurie Strode and Tommy Doyle has, when he asks her, he was like he asks her to read the comic books, that he has, and she reads them, and she's like, "Oh, Shark Man and Tarantula Man," and he was like, "Well, what about the boogeyman?" And it's like, obviously he was, taunted by the kids earlier when they tripped over him. He tripped and fell on the pumpkin or whatever. Um, but it's interesting how kids have the biggest imagination. I remember I did too. When somebody would say something and it would just stick in your head, and you're like,
Mhm.
and now every little turn under your bed, close the closet door, all those things start to become all of a sudden your safe haven is no longer safe, you know? And so it's interesting that they brought that into this movie as well, the whole boogeyman aspect, you know so I thought
definitely.
that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because I remember, we would have our relatives, or friends tell us about something that didn't exist, and we'd spend probably weeks or maybe a month, thinking about whatever it is, and come up with all sorts of things and be terrified. I used to
Hmm.
get that from family members. Even my mother did that to me once, I think. Um, yeah, so definitely, I felt like John Carpenter, Deborah Hill. I felt like they really knew how to put the psychology in these characters and make it very relatable and believable.
I think so too. I think the way that they handled the whole chemistry between them, it felt like they were friends for a long time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Um, Now let's talk about the shape. Let's talk about Michael,
The shape.
right? Now, Michael Myers, now they call him the embodiment of evil, right? Now, it's interesting because from the beginning, when after he breaks out of the sanitarium, he goes home, and Laurie drops the key off at the house. And from that point on, he's fixated on Laurie. And, there's always that undermining concept that, she represents this, his sister, the sister that he murdered in the beginning. That's before obviously we'll talk about Halloween too another time, but they've always indicated that that was, something where they talk about the fact that, he was fixated on her because she reminded him some way of his sister. And then her walking with Tommy, right? It reminded of sort of like him and his sister, you know,
And
in a
they had
way.
a healthy relationship because Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie, and Tommy had a pretty good relationship. You know, she's walking him to school, I think, or
Hmm.
whatever. And I think maybe Michael and Judith didn't have a good relationship. Maybe. You know, we'll never know because John Carpenter isn't talking about it.
That's what I
He's
like
only
about it.
Deborah
Probably
Hill.
wasn't that good if he, stabbed her.
Mm.
I like how John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. I like how they leave the audience to really think things through themselves, for them to come up with their own ideas and to make it very mysterious, make it ambiguous, make it cryptic. We could come out with our own assumptions about it, and that's what I love about it, rather than giving all the details.
there's a lot of psychology in the movie too, and it's I think that's what makes it such a classic horror film or slasher film. It's a it's an art film disguised as a slasher film. There's a lot going on in this movie psychologically. It's tight, and well, I think it's what 90 minutes. It's
Yeah.
tight. The dialogue is there. I know John Carpenter went to prestigious film school.
Yeah, he did. Him and
Yeah,
actually the guy who played the Shape, Nick Castle. Both of them. Both went to art school. They both
yeah,
went to school together.
yeah. So I'm thinking this is his art project disguised as a slasher film, just because he puts a lot of layers into it. And like Jarrell said, and you said, a lot of it is ambiguous, and it plays tricks on your mind. Like, why did he do it? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so powerful over 40 years later, and people are still talking about it and wondering about it.
Hmm.
He never comes out and just says it.
Yeah.
He's like, you have to think about it.
Yeah. 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 I think that's interesting. When they talk about the concept of the boogeyman, because that's labeled pretty often throughout the film. That's one thing I did catch when I watched this movie again. That they kept saying the boogeyman, the boogeyman, the boogeyman. And I remember like even like when we were kids, the boogeyman was, it's not, that's always something to kind of put fear in the hearts of children to make them behave, right? For the most
Uh-huh.
part. So the boogeyman's gonna get you, type of thing. But yeah, so let's talk about Loomis. Let's talk about Dr. Loomis. Is he a quack
No,
or is he legit? You know,
Hmm.
does he? I mean, he is living in high level extremes. He's saying Michael Myers is he's evil. That conversation he has. I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, seeing past this wall, watching this night, and he's waited for it and was inhumanly patient, hour and after hour, day after day, waiting for some silent, invisible alarm to trigger him. Death has arrived in your little town, Sheriff. That's what he says. So obviously, he provides the exposition for the audience, for us to understand how dangerous Michael is,
Yep.
right? So is he effective? Is the character Dr. Loomis an effective character, and why you guys think so or not think so?
I think, like you said, he was a little bit of a loon, Doctor Looney. Like he definitely was over the top. He definitely was our gateway in, which is kind of cool because we got to kind of see it through the old man's eyes. But he wasn't. He didn't seem very doctor like. He seemed more like angry cop. Like the cop from like the what was it the sleepover what was that old 80s movie the sleepaway camp the cop that
Oh,
came in. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't really get doctor from him. I got loony from
hmm.
him.
I felt that he was passionate. He was very passionate about Michael Myers, it seems, and that because he's known him for so long, it's like it's like it's kind of like a son to he's kind of like a son to him, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I know that he's a psychopath, so I got to put him down, so he won't harm anybody, and I guess I won't lose my job. Uh,
That
yeah, I like
could
how
be it too. Job security.
yeah,
Good point.
I like how he does set the exposition for Myers. Kind of is a he kind of represents him not as a way to protect him, but to let people know that he's an unstoppable force and that he's no joke. He is the boogeyman. He's more than your average human being. He's something else,
Hmm.
and so many people didn't believe him, and it took him killing so many people for them to finally wake up and realize that. I also felt that Loomis never changes his clothes, really. He wears the same jacket. Halloween
he
movie.
loves his Inspector Caruso
He
coat.
loves his Inspector clothes.
I was gonna say
Mhm.
the same thing.
But he's a great character. He's a great I'd say some type of maybe anti sidekick of Michael Myers. Is so strange because like he tries to track him down and look for him. You know, Michael Myers is always steps ahead until towards the end, and Loomis finally finds him and takes him down for now. But I feel that
Spoilers.
he's a good. Oh, sorry about that. He's a great I think supporting
Listen, if you
character.
guys have not seen
Like,
Halloween, please go watch Halloween. 78. Yeah.
I I think Loomis is a little bit of everything that you all said. I think he doesn't want people to get killed, but he's a bit of a quack. No psychiatrist in his right mind goes out with a gun looking to shoot someone. That tells you a little bit about him right there. And I know John Carpenter visited a psychiatric facility before he wrote Halloween. But I think he's saying, okay, some of the doctors aren't even all there. And if you think about it, in my opinion, Loomis is, in literature, it would be called the unreliable narrator.
Oh
But
shoot.
he's giving you some of the truth, but he's not giving you all the truth. Some of it doesn't add up. Like when Michael goes home, yes, he kills the guy for his clothes, but when he goes home, suppose Laurie never went past the house. What would he have done? Just chill there for like years?
No.
Or was he dead
He
or
would have probably
something?
found another fixation. See, the thing about psychopaths is that they get fixated on this the simplest thing. Obviously, by her coming by, he fixated on her because it reminded him of his sister. But that's pretty normal with psychopaths. And I think when it comes to I think when it comes to Loomis, I think that everybody in their career or in their life have come across someone that changes everything for you. Like anything you thought before, after you met this person, you think totally different
Mhm.
afterwards. And I think that's what Michael meant for him. I think before that, I would love to see Loomis when he before Michael. Like he probably was the most optimistic doctor, bring you lollipops and all this other stuff. And I think Michael coming across somebody like that, and he actually admits that, like the fact that he's never met a patient like this, and
Mm.
it changed everything for him. It changed what he probably, you know, learned about even his own, psychological assessment, because he probably thought that he can fix everyone, and that's probably the scary part, that he probably thought that he could fix Michael. And the fact that he realized like this kid is evil. Like when you look at something, you're like, oh my God, like this person is dangerous, and the other thing is when people don't see it. You know what I mean? It's like that same old thing, like, it's like, yeah, there's a monster in the closet. There's a creature outside and nobody believes you, that type of thing. And I think Loomis in a way is like a little kid. It's like he's trying to make people believe, like, listen, there's this.
Like Tommy.
It's, and so I feel like that changed his career. Michael Myers has changed Loomis's uh, career forever, and now he looks at things totally different than what he did before.
But I'm still not sure if a psychiatrist, if he couldn't help the patient, would just go, he's evil because I can't help him. Did you call in other psychiatrists? Did you get him the right medication? I mean, there are still some questions going on there with Loomis. Most psychiatrists do not just make that blatant statement that the person is evil. It would be more like because I did a little research into psychiatry and how they treat sociopaths and everything like that. And they just go, okay, I could not help this person.
But maybe this person.
They don't go, is a hopeless case. And sometimes, if they feel like it's an
Sometimes,
extreme, if it is extreme, then the patient has to be in a controlled environment, basically.
Well, that's what he wanted, right? He wanted him locked up forever. He didn't want them to get out. That's what he
Yeah,
was trying to tell the
you just
board.
don't give up. Like you would keep trying to help the patient, maybe call in more specialized help, but you just wouldn't, say he's evil. You would try to find other solutions or find someone else that might want to find the solution. So he was a bit wacky himself,
That true. I agree. I
but
think
it
he
served
has,
him very well. He gave the best speech in the movie.
He did.
When
Donald
he
Pleasence,
had the blackest eyes, he had the
the
devil's
devil's
eyes and
eyes.
everything. But again, to me, a little bit of an unreliable description. We see Michael with his face out twice. Once when he's a kid, he looks confused, in my opinion, and at the end, when his mask comes off briefly, he still look. His face is kind of messed up, but he doesn't look like like Jason or anyone. He looks like a young man who's confused.
Oh, why you got to pick on Jason, bro? He can't help his
Yeah,
looks.
but I would say,
Everyone's beautiful inside, bro.
No Jay
and
shaming, Jay.
say wanted Michael not to look evil when he took off the mask.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
think that was intentional.
but that's good storytelling. It's like
Yeah.
I'm telling you one thing, but I'm showing you another. You
Hmm.
have to think about it and make up your own mind. So again, that's good
Yeah.
storytelling. But if Michael was truly evil, he had chances to kill other people. He didn't. He didn't try to kill Loomis at the end. He stood there. Loomis shot him. It's not like Michael put the knife back and tried to stab him. He just shot him. Didn't shoot him in the leg, in the pinky toe. He just shot him
He
point
shot him.
blank.
Well, he shot him in the arm the first time. Yeah, he shot him in the arm.
It's
Yeah.
and plus I always say when Michael's at the school and the little kid runs into him, he lets the kid go. If he was totally evil, he doesn't kill the kid.
Well, he
But
did
then
kill
again,
people.
huh?
I think there's
He
a
killed
reason.
people.
Yeah, because it reminds him of him when he was a kid. But I think in the same way, maybe also in 1978, if they showed something like that, people would have just walked out of the theater because that
Right.
would have been a little too much. I think.
Yeah.
Even
And also
now,
he would.
I think
Yeah.
people would take offense at something like that.
Mhm.
Right.
We like our slasher films, but we don't like them that hardcore.
And I think him killing people indiscriminately.
Charles made a point years ago when we saw the Rob Zombie Halloween. He casted teenagers in there, or they look like teenagers. So when they get killed, you take great offense at it. It's like, I don't want to see that. John Carpenter pretty much casted like 30-year-olds to play
Yeah,
kids.
they look old as hell.
Yeah,
A bit
I was
less
looking at them like,
of a turtle, of a shock.
yeah, they did look older.
Michael didn't kill everybody willy-nilly in the first one. He was methodical with who he killed, basically. And, if you got in his way, like the truck driver when he got the clothes, but like I said, he didn't kill the kid at the school.
He get
He's looking
86th.
forward in the high school. He didn't go
Yo, that
in
truck
there.
driver was going home, man, to his family.
Damn,
so he got no
I
love
felt
for
like
the
his-
truck driver.
I felt like some of his kills
Then
were
again,
like,
then again, we don't see the full scene. Maybe if Michael could talk, he would say, "Hey, listen, I was walking, I was bumming a ride, and this guy propositioned me."
Is that what he said?
So we don't know.
I feel like the reasons why he killed certain people adds layer to his character. Because if he started killing people indiscriminately, it would have been boring. Like, okay, this guy just goes killing anybody. But for us to not know when he's going to strike or who he's going to kill, that adds on to that scare factor in which we don't know who he's going to choose. You don't know whose fate it could be. I feel like he'll kill you if you're in his way, and he'll kill you if there's something that he wants. Yeah, so I think that he's mysterious in that way.
First movie.
Yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
ate a dog. One for food, he ate a dog.
He ate a
And then
dog,
killed
right?
He killed the dog. But he
You know,
also
Yeah,
the,
killed the dog. He
he
choked the
killed the
dog
dog.
out.
He ate
He
a
ain't do
dog
he
and
ain't,
choked him out.
he ain't do
dog
I
was
Am
about to
Legend. He
switch.
did.
And remember, he's crazy. So if he's hungry, he's gonna find anything he can eat, which makes him even more scary because that that once again eliminates like the human factor in him. Like, I mean,
Right.
He's
of
not
course,
a
Yeah.
human
human.
beings eat
He's
dogs.
not a man. He isn't the man.
Yeah,
He isn't a man. No, it's interesting because because okay, so let's talk about the ending kills. Okay, so he's been stalking these girls, right? So the interesting thing is that after he kills Annie, right? Kills Annie first in the car, right? So he kills her and he sets her up on the bed and he puts his sister's tombstone in the bed. So when you go and you see something like it's like for him to set it up that way was
crazy.
just insane. It was like a I don't know if he was going for I know a lot of these killers the way they set certain bodies up and stuff like that. It was like what was he trying to say there? Just in that scene alone with the tombstone and having Annie's body,
He
lifeless body there.
desecrated. He he desecrated his sister's grave. Obviously, there's some type of hate that he had for her for whatever happened. Annie, I guess, represented something about his sister. You know, I read someplace that all three girls represented a part of his sister. You know,
Hmm.
and I guess you could also say if it was three of them, you could
Yeah,
say id, the ego, the super ego.
Mhm.
Like I said, Carpenter put a lot of
he
psychological
did.
trick.
He did. I got a great appreciation for this film. He really did. Um, it's interesting because, like, even as he, okay, when he does Bob downstairs, right? So Bob goes and get the beer, right? After, talking with, or having, relations with Linda, right? He goes downstairs. Yeah. So, and then, Michael grabs him from the closet and chokes him with one arm and lifts him up and then takes the
Uh-huh.
knife with the other arm and just boom. And the thing that made that scene really effective, just you knew it was going to happen, you just didn't know what was going to happen. And the way they shot it in shadow, I thought was really brilliant. But I also like the fact that after he kills Bob, the way he looks at Bob and he just kind of tilts his head left and then tilts his head right. He's like almost like admiring his work a
Uh-huh.
little bit. You know what I mean? That whole
Like an artist.
sequence there. Yeah.
He was an artist.
Yeah. He's so I found that was pretty interesting and
I make
creepy.
art until somebody dies. That's what
Until somebody dies. Exactly. But it's just interesting that and then he goes upstairs with the ghost with the sheet, the famous scene. He goes upstairs with the ghost sheet.
he has a mask over his mask.
He does. And I think the other thing about that scene too, which was interesting because when she, the famous shot and she goes, "You see something you like?" Right? And I think he was kind of getting a little pissed that he wasn't reacting. you know, she was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you not?" So I think she was kind of getting a little pissed, and that's where she kind of got like, "Well, I'm gonna call Annie. Call Lori and find out." And then he chokes her, and then we have the famous sequence where Lori goes over to the house and the final confrontation with her and Myers, and I felt like that whole sequence, the way that they shot that, I can tell like people probably was they was watching that movie, because they took a long time to film her walking across the street into that house, and I think everybody in the theater was probably like, "Don't go, don't go," People are very what do you call it? Interactive when it comes to these movies, so they're like, "Oh, don't go, don't go." But it's just interesting that she gets to the house and when she goes upstairs and she's like, she does this thing. Oh, if y'all joke around with me, I'll kill you, that type of thing. And when she goes upstairs and finds all her friends gone, Imagine like she like probably freaked her out.
And the
Then
way she
Michael's there.
found him too, the way, the way
Yeah,
he set it up, like you said,
yeah,
which I guess goes back to the inspiration for Michael Myers and Psycho. Ed Gein, who was known to skin his victims, do certain things, and
hmm
you know. So I guess it all goes back to that. But imagine she's a 17-year-old girl and she sees her friends dead like that, murdered.
yeah,
Mm.
Their bodies, pretty much violated.
yeah,
Imagine what kind of trauma that would leave on her for the
yeah,
rest of her life.
big time. Yeah, and I think that the whole sequence, the whole intense chase sequence that they did was really amazing. And again, we haven't even talked about the fact of John Carpenter doing the composing. He's the one that did the music for Halloween. you know.
That's awesome.
So hats off to that guy for not only directing but creating the music. He only had 4 weeks to do this film. That's it.
That's insane.
4 weeks, and he only had a week with Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance, the reason why he had the additional 20,000 on top of the 300,000 is because most 40,000 of it, I think, went to Donald. Because he was a seasoned actor. They wanted to get somebody with weight, and I think at one time they wanted Peter Cushing, I think Christopher Lee,
Christopher Lee, yeah.
but they end up getting Donald, and Donald agreed to it, which was awesome. But they said that he was nervous as heck because to have Donald, that I'm gonna only imagine, you're this ambitious young director, and you got this like seasoned actor, and he's like in your little, I'm not saying it little like that, but he's in your horror movie, type of thing. So, but yeah, it was really interesting, the music and everything, and the way that I think the music made this movie scary. If it was if it was a movie that had a different type of music cue, I think it wouldn't have worked out. I think the music is so viable with Halloween. Everybody remembers the ding, 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 ding. Everybody remembers that song, the music to Halloween, and it's just amazing that John Carpenter was able to pull that off.
That
You
was
know,
amazing.
it really was. So hats off to those guys. Hats off to them, man, for I mean, a lot of those guys was like his friends that helped him get that movie done. Movie cost 300,000. It went on to make what 47 million.
Wow.
Probably one of the biggest independent movies ever. You know, Made so much money.
We need to make a
You
horror
know,
movie, guys. We all need to make a horror movie together.
There you go.
We're all buds.
that's it. Low budget. Got our smartphones now. So, and then obviously we, like you said, the ending sequence where she kills him, and well, she thinks she's killed him, and he gets up. Like I think that old moment, I think, was two old, or like old shoot moments. It was one with the car, and the second with him just sitting up like that. It was like, wait a minute. Like,
And I sometimes think that that's where a lot of other horror films get their inspiration from, or even characters like pro wrestler The Undertaker. I think the way he rises up
hmm
is kind of inspired by Michael Myers. When I
yes,
saw It Follows, there's a scene where the protagonist is in the back of the classroom, and she just looks out the window and sees like this random person waiting for her. Like it looked like she's just staring at her all the way from across the street, and that reminds me of the scene in Halloween '78 when Laurie Strode is in the classroom and she looks all the way across the street and she can barely see like somebody there looking at her, but it is Michael Myers there, near the car. And also, I noticed that um, I wonder if people that saw that in theaters noticed that Michael Myers was stalking Laurie Strode throughout probably 98% of the film. Because I noticed that the more times I looked at Halloween, I noticed that there's so many scenes where he's driving a hatchback, the vehicle, right? He's right behind Laurie while they're driving off. And I'm like, this guy is following her like the whole time through all these scenes, and she doesn't
yeah,
even know it, which
In
is
the
like crazy
daytime,
in the daytime.
in the daytime.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because it's like I think the whole thing about horror flicks is that, if you notice, the ones that usually survives are the ones that's most aware,
Hmm.
right? Those are the ones that they understand, like, wait a minute, so and so's been gone for too long, or why is the phone not working, or they're the ones that's so intuitive that things are going wrong, you know. And so it's interesting how Laurie's character becomes, it starts to evolve through a little bit more and more throughout the film, and she ends up becoming the protector of the kids, and making sure that they're safe. And that's the first kid to people, that's who she protects more than herself is the
Hmm.
kids, So that's what makes you even care for her even more. She need to get a raise as a babysitter because she
Yeah.
protected my kids from a maniac. I'd be like, listen, girl, you can babysit my kids anytime.
I think she's right up there with Ripley and Sarah Connor when it comes to
Yeah.
Yeah.
iconic, strong female leads in
Yeah,
a movie.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah,
because she had no training. You know, Ripley was in the military. Sarah Connor took training.
hmm,
Lori, she was just a school kid. She's 17 and she's fighting a maniac
yeah,
in the dark, having to protect children. I mean, you have to give it up to Jamie Lee Curtis. It was a great performance.
yeah. I can imagine how physical it was for her too, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, no, great scene, and then obviously the scene obviously at the end where he gets shot, and then he goes outside, well, he goes over the balcony and he's gone, and then they do that beautiful shot of everywhere he's been, and then
Yeah.
ended
And you
on
still hear his
Halloween. You
and you
still
hear his
breathing.
breathing too. You still hear his
Yeah,
breathing. I'm
that
like,
that
damn.
that I have to say, like, this movie, it has so many gems. Like, I watched it again as if when I just recently watched it, I watched it as if I've seen it for the first time.
Mm.
It's such an amazing feat for John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, and what they was able to put together. And hats off to all the team that they had, because when it comes to a movie, man, it's a lot. It's a lot to put together. And obviously getting Donald Pleasance was the biggest win because I think he added a level of sort of, he added more levels to the film. I believe he added more to, and the way he just delivered his lines was just like listening to him talk, and the way he delivers it. He takes his time and he makes you believe it, and that's what adds to the terror of, this movie and this story.
Yeah. I love the way that film finishes when Loomis shoots Michael Myers and Michael Myers falls off the balcony, and then he notices that Michael Myers isn't there, and you see Dr. Loomis looking around with his
Yeah,
eyes
yeah,
as if he's like, "Damn it, where did you go to now? We thought we was finished with you, and we're not done with you, and now we don't know where you are. You could be, killing more people after that." And Lori is she's still on the floor crying, but I don't think she knows like right then and there that he's left, but she knows she's just horrified, and shocked and terrified by that moment. But that ending, that cliffhanger is just excellent.
amazing.
It continues on that dread and also something that we look forward to possibly in the future.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't think John Carpenter wanted that, but it was a great finish for a horror film.
Yeah.
I would love to know what a psychiatrist would make out of Halloween. Like if a psychiatrist analyzed it, because there are just so many good psychological things going on in there. I
Yeah.
guess a combination of a film student and a psychiatrist.
Well, it's
you
it's
know,
yeah, that's interesting because it calls back. I think the very last dialogue of that film, it calls back to the boogeyman because she says, "What's the boogeyman?" And he was like, "Well, frankly, that was."
You know what I'm
So it all
curious
goes back
about?
to the boogeyman.
I'm curious about how did Michael Myers know how to drive a car?
We
Did he
just talked
learn
about
while he was did he learn while he was, imprisoned or
I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions. I see. I think with Michael Myers, I think the story that John Carpenter told, it was just so many questions, and I think he wanted it that way. It made it more
Mhm.
scarier. I think that when you know too much, it it takes away elements of a character to me. You know, if you know too much. I mean, you can know certain things. Like if you go back and you say, okay, well, let's do this origin story, or let's go back and let's kind of diverse a little bit more into this character, and get a back get a little bit more back of history. But with Michael and the way he did it, it was very mysterious, and I think it added to the fear. It added to the, because you didn't know what he was, and then the thing is, you're like, okay, well, is Loomis right? Is, you're thinking, you're questioning this the whole time. And then when he strikes and he starts, murdering people, you're like, oh my gosh, and
But but again, he doesn't try to kill Loomis at the end. He looks at him, and Loomis shoots him.
well,
You
I
know,
think I would. I think I would too.
yeah.
I think I would. I think I would. There's no way in the world that this maniac, he's choking a woman, and
I'm just saying.
I mean,
How does he feel about Loomis? He, like I say, he didn't kill. He didn't try to attack Loomis. So, is there a feeling like a bond there where he's like,
mm,
I think there is.
there is in a way, yeah, because he spent time with them. Yeah, I'm sure there is a bond. He doesn't. I think it would be interesting to understand what Michael's mind. What is he thinking? Like what is going on in his head when he sees Loomis or he sees certain characters. Even like what's going through his head. That's one of the things we just we'll never know. But I would think that he would have a bond. And to answer your question, I would think so.
and what about Michael's parents? Again, like you said, Charles, a lot of unanswered questions. If you just take the first movie as a whole, and there are no sequels, if you just analyze that one movie, we don't know what even happens to the parents. It looks like he comes from a nice middle class neighborhood. They probably came back from a movie. His sister was supposed to be babysitting him, I guess, and this is why the original idea is the babysitter murders. But the parents come, unmask him. He doesn't try to hurt the parents. What was going on? you know, it's just like there are no clear answers to it.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's the great thing about this story. There's nothing that's clear, but you see all these horrific things happen in this one night. You know, and it basically sets the tone for everything. And I don't even think in the sequels they even mention anything more about his parents. To be honest, unless there was a cut scene or and something they put on the editing floor or something. I don't think so. But very interesting movie. What do you guys like as far as like Halloween films or horror movies? You kind of hold this as one of the you know one of the top films, top Halloween movie of all time.
I I definitely put it up there as one of the classics and one of the greatest horror films. And I just felt like it was just so well done from the sound score to the directing, um, to how he freezes that the last part of that opening scene when Michael, is holding a knife that looks almost bigger than him, and he's with the parents there. I thought that was a nice,
Mhm.
aesthetic that John Carpenter put in there, to the first person point of view. He makes it interesting when he's filming. He doesn't make things look fast paced, or he does that when he wants to. And there's parts when things slow down. It starts with parts when things, uh, get a little bit ramped up. I just love the way the whole thing was done, and just how art itself can, you know, put itself together, from turn nothing to something by using so many resources, and for believing in your own project. I think it's
Hmm.
just a wonderful thing. And to move an audience in such a way that it leaves a legacy till the end of time is just
Yeah,
excellent. So I think that film is almost flawless. I think I don't have any complaints for that movie.
me neither. I think it's one of my favorite all-time horror flicks. Like I said, I just seen it, and it was like I watched it for the first time. All the sequences, the decisions they've made. I mean, even the famous closet scene where she's hiding in the closet. He breaks through the closet. She, takes the hanger. Like it was like you felt every inch of terror in that film, and I thought that they handled it very well. For a small budget and like I said, ambitious young director. To take a chance and do this movie. You know, it was basically an independent movie.
Mm-hmm.
I I think it's right up there with Psycho and Texas Chainsaw as redefining the genre of the slasher film. Um, but but those films are really like art films disguised as slasher films because there's so much about society that it says about society in those films. And I think those particular filmmakers were using the slasher genre to say certain things where as much as we all love, let's say, a Friday the 13th and other slasher films,
Uh,
they were like, we're going to make a slasher film and it's going to scare the shit out of you. I hope we can use a little cursing here, but if they did it in Thor Thunder, we can do it here. But I think with Halloween and Psycho and Texas Chainsaw, they're like, we're going to examine the human psyche, you know, and we're going to horrify you not just with what you're seeing on screen, but what you have to think about. Why is this happening? And so, hats off to John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. They created a classic that, like you guys said, it's still being talked about. Like every
hmm
little kid eventually is going to see Halloween because it's just one of those things. It's a scary movie, and then when they get older, they're going to go, "What was that really about?" You have to rewatch it again as an adult.
hmm Definitely, definitely. Last thoughts, Eli?
Last thoughts. I can't wait to see the other ones because I have not. I only seen those four Halloween movies out of the 13.
hmm
Holy crap! So yeah, I'm interested to see the other ones. So you
It's
guys got me hooked on a franchise.
I'm telling you, just talking about this film kind of gave me the chills. Like I just looked to my right and I noticed that it's my curtain blowing from the fan, and I was like, what is
you
that?
do
There's
kind
someone
of.
coming through the window.
I'm like, is somebody staring at me through this window?
Yeah.
And hey,
You
the
never
great thing
know. You never know who's looking at
that's
you. You
true.
never know.
And the great thing about this film is that we could probably talk about it for another hour or two, but we have to cut it short. you know,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But we can always do revisits. I mean, we're gonna do a lot of different franchise shows, but I definitely wanted to give Halloween its props for just being, um, just innovative in its own right, and just transcending just not just being a horror movie, but being a great film, altogether. And definitely looking forward to doing the other movies and the other you know, uh, in this franchise. We're going to be doing Halloween 2 next, which is going to be interesting to deep dive into that. There's a lot that goes into Halloween 2 that we're going to discuss. But definitely, if you guys have not seen Halloween, please check it out for yourself. Definitely comment. I would like to know what you guys, we like to know what you guys think of the story, or if this is your favorite one, if this is your least favorite one, we'd like to know that too.
Mm-hmm.
And check out and see, you know, our next episodes that we're gonna have. We're gonna go all the way to the ends. Halloween ends. So
I just hope in Halloween ends that William Shatner has a cameo in it. That would be priceless.
That would be
That is
interesting because it is
priceless.
his face. It's
Yes.
on a mask. So, oh man, but thank you guys so much, man. I like to,
Thank you,
really
brother.
appreciate you guys for hanging out and talking about this. This is going to be amazing, and this is going to be a great journey all the way, from Halloween '78 to Halloween ends, and hats off to you guys. Thanks again, Jarrell, Eli, JJ, my brothers, and I'm looking
Thank
forward
you,
to
Charles.
looking forward to doing more of these type of topics. So, and for you guys out there, thank you guys for always supporting and hanging out with us as well. Yes, feel free to just comment. Always subscribe and follow us on Instagram. Follow, got Art of Eli. We got boy Jarrell. All these guys are doing great things. So definitely follow these guys. They're constantly creating. You know what I mean? Great guys, great heart. So definitely follow these guys. And definitely don't forget to follow, don't forget to like, and don't forget to speak on it. So bye bye for now, guys.
I encourage people. Bye.